So since you might be comfortable or experienced using some Java code, this is going to be just a presentation, sort of an overview of how you might create a web server using Java. So right here is all of the code you need. It's 33 lines of code, and even some of those are comments and blank lines. But this is actually all it would take to build a web server using Java. A lot of the complexity is obviously abstracted away into some of these packages. But step by step, we can kind of see how this one main program will allow us to listen for requests, service those requests, and send responses back to the user. So, the first thing that we're doing here on line 9 is we're creating a server socket. Basically, a server socket opens and it just sort of waits for connections. It waits for someone to connect. The next thing we do is we're going to use a do while loop, and every time someone connects, we're actually going to basically service that connection. So when the client connects, we accept the connection and return a client connection. We accept, get the client connection. And then from there, we actually get an input stream and create a buffered reader so that we can read that request line by line. So we retrieve the client connection input stream, we create that buffered reader based on that input stream, and then from there, we're going to read this line by line. So we're going to read the first line, and then we're going to use a while loop to read, we're going to read each line in that request. We're going to echo it back to the console so we can see it, and then we're going to, we're just going to do the same thing. So we're basically just reading this out so we can exhaust the input and then get to the point where we can start reading out or start outputting to this particular client. So we're kind of just reading this and throwing it away is all that's happening here. We write a response, though. We're going to get an output stream writer, and we're going to write a response back to that client. So we retrieve that client's output stream. And then the first thing we're going to do is put in this HTTP header that identifies that we're using HTTP version 1.1. We're going to send a response code of 200, which just means OK. And then from there, we're going to create, or we're going to also send a HTTP header that says we're going to send back HTML text, and that's going to be just some basic HTML here that tells the user that this is a response. Then we close the connection, and that's all we have to do here to start servicing requests in Java. Now, there are some issues if we go back here. Some of the issues are, we'll go all the way back to the beginning. This isn't multi-threaded, so we can only actually service one request at a time. Now, we're not doing much in this code. We're just sort of just exhausting that input and then sending out one bit of static output. So the fact that it's not multi-threaded is probably not a big deal, but another issue is that if we run into any type of exception reading or writing, we're actually going to crash the whole server. So it's not the most robust web server that we could have, but it is a very simple one that we could use. And if you actually compile this and run this on your own computer, you'll find that if you open up a browser and you type HTTP ://localhost:8080, what you actually get is just a little response that says this is a response. Your browser will interact with this and load the HTML directly. So just kind of a quick overview of how web servers are going to work before we get into actually building our own and starting to explore some of the concepts behind it. Thanks for watching.